Dr. Zorax, a brilliant alien scientist, was always curious about the universe and its many mysteries. He had spent years studying various species across the galaxy, but there was one that had recently caught his attention: humans. As he sat in his research station, far from his home planet, Dr. Zorax couldn't help but be fascinated by the information he had gathered about this unique species. He had learned that humans were not only intelligent but also incredibly adaptable, able to survive in a wide range of environments. But what truly shocked him was their fertility rate. According to his research, humans were capable of reproducing at an astonishing pace, far exceeding any other species he had encountered. This discovery left him both excited and perplexed. Eager to share his findings, Dr. Zorax called a meeting with his fellow alien scientists. As they gathered in the conference room, he could barely contain his excitement. "Friends, I have made a remarkable discovery," he began, his voice trembling with enthusiasm. "It appears that humans are the most fertile creatures in the galaxy." The room fell silent as the other scientists processed this information. Some looked skeptical, while others leaned forward, intrigued by Dr. Zorax's words. "How can this be?" asked Dr. Xylox, a tall, slender alien with piercing blue eyes. "We have studied countless species, and none have shown such a high fertility rate." Dr. Zorax nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "I know it seems unbelievable, but the data doesn't lie. Humans are capable of producing offspring at a rate that far surpasses any other species we have encountered." He proceeded to share his findings, displaying charts and graphs that illustrated the human fertility rate compared to other species. The numbers were staggering, leaving the other scientists in awe. "This is incredible," exclaimed Dr. Xylox, her eyes wide with wonder. "Imagine the implications this could have for our own species. If we could understand how humans achieve such a high fertility rate, we could potentially boost our own population growth." Dr. Zorax nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. "Exactly. This discovery could be the key to ensuring the survival and prosperity of our own species." As the meeting concluded, the scientists buzzed with excitement, eager to learn more about this fascinating species. Dr. Zorax knew that this was just the beginning of a long and thrilling journey. Over the next few weeks, Dr. Zorax dedicated himself to studying humans even further. He pored over every piece of information he could find, from their biology to their social structures. The more he learned, the more intrigued he became. He discovered that humans had a unique reproductive system, with females capable of producing offspring multiple times throughout their lives. This was in stark contrast to many other species, which had limited reproductive capabilities. Dr. Zorax also learned about human culture and how it played a role in their fertility rate. Humans placed a high value on family and often encouraged reproduction, even celebrating it through various rituals and traditions. As he delved deeper into his research, Dr. Zorax couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration for these remarkable creatures. Despite their flaws and challenges, humans had managed to thrive and expand across their planet, and now they were even venturing into space. He knew that there was still so much to learn about humans and their incredible fertility rate. But for now, he was content with the knowledge he had gained and the excitement it had generated among his fellow scientists. As he sat back in his chair, staring out at the vast expanse of the galaxy, Dr. Zorax couldn't help but smile. He knew that this was just the beginning of a grand adventure, one that would take him to new heights of understanding and discovery. And with that thought, he turned back to his work, eager to unravel the secrets of the most fertile creatures in the galaxy. The human couple experiment. Dr. Zorax was determined to learn more about the incredible fertility rate of humans. He knew that studying them from afar would only provide limited information. To truly understand their reproductive capabilities, he needed to observe them up close. With the support of his fellow scientists, Dr. Zorax devised a plan to bring a human couple to their research station. It was a risky move, but one that could potentially yield groundbreaking results. After months of careful planning and coordination, the day finally arrived. A young human couple, Jack and Lisa, had been selected for the experiment. They were both healthy and had agreed to participate in the study, unaware of the true nature of their hosts. As the couple arrived at the research station, Dr. Zorax and his team could barely contain their excitement. They had prepared a special living quarters for Jack and Lisa, complete with all the amenities they would need to feel comfortable. Over the next few weeks, the alien scientists observed the couple closely, monitoring their every move. They watched as Jack and Lisa interacted with each other, noting their affectionate gestures and intimate moments. Dr. Zorax was particularly interested in their reproductive behavior. He observed the couple's mating rituals and studied their physiology, marveling at the complexity of the human reproductive system. As the days turned into weeks, the alien scientists began to notice something extraordinary. Lisa was showing signs of pregnancy, her belly growing rounder with each passing day. The team was ecstatic. They had never witnessed a human pregnancy up close before, and the opportunity to study it firsthand was a dream come true. Dr. Zorax and his colleagues monitored Lisa's pregnancy closely, taking note of every change in her body. They marveled at the way her body adapted to accommodate the growing fetus, and they were fascinated by the intricate process of human fetal development. As Lisa's pregnancy progressed, the alien scientists became more and more invested in the couple's well-being. They provided them with the best medical care and ensured that all their needs were met. Finally, after 9 months of waiting, the big day arrived. Lisa went into labor, and the research station buzzed with excitement. Dr. Zorax and his team were on hand to witness the birth, their eyes wide with wonder as they watched a tiny human being enter the world. The baby was perfect in every way, with 10 tiny fingers and 10 tiny toes. Dr. Zorax couldn't help but feel a sense of awe as he held the newborn in his arms, marveling at the miracle of human life. Over the next few days, the alien scientists continued to study the couple and their new baby. They observed the way Jack and Lisa cared for their child, noting the strong bond that formed between parent and offspring. Dr. Zorax was particularly fascinated by the way the human body adapted to the demands of parenthood. He watched as Lisa's body produced milk to nourish her baby, and he marveled at the way Jack's protective instincts kicked in whenever the child was in danger. As the experiment came to a close, Dr. Zorax and his team knew that they had witnessed something truly remarkable. They had gained a new appreciation for the incredible fertility rate of humans and the complexity of their reproductive system. But they also knew that their work was far from over. There was still so much to learn about this fascinating species, and Dr. Zorax was determined to unravel every last mystery. As he bid farewell to Jack, Lisa, and their new baby, Dr. Zorax couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement for the future. He knew that this was just the beginning of a long and thrilling journey, one that would take him to new heights of understanding and discovery. And with that thought, he turned back to his work, eager to continue his study of the most fertile creatures in the galaxy. Aliens react to the news. As Dr. Zorax and his team continued their study of the human couple and their newborn baby, word of their incredible discovery began to spread throughout the alien society. The news that humans were the most fertile creatures in the galaxy was met with a range of reactions, from curiosity and excitement to fear and skepticism. Some aliens were fascinated by the idea of a species that could reproduce so quickly and efficiently. They saw it as a marvel of nature and a testament to the incredible diversity of life in the universe. Others, however, were more cautious. They feared that the high fertility rate of humans could pose a threat to their own species, as humans could potentially outcompete them for resources in space. As the news continued to spread, debates began to arise among the alien population. Some argued that the humans should be studied further in order to learn from their reproductive success and potentially improve their own fertility rates. Others, however, called for caution. They argued that the humans should be contained and monitored in order to prevent them from spreading too quickly and posing a threat to the delicate balance of the galaxy. Dr. Zorax found himself at the center of these debates, as he was the one who had first discovered the incredible fertility rate of humans. He tried to remain objective and scientific in his approach, but he couldn't help but feel a sense of protectiveness towards the human couple and their baby. As the debates raged on, Dr. Zorax and his team continued their work, studying the human family and learning more about their biology and behavior. They were amazed by the bond that had formed between Jack, Lisa, and their child, and they marveled at the way the baby was growing and developing every day. But even as they worked, they couldn't ignore the growing tension in the alien society around them. Some aliens had begun to protest outside the research station, calling for the humans to be removed and sent back to their own planet. Others had taken a more aggressive approach, threatening to take matters into their own hands if the humans were not contained. Dr. Zorax knew that he had to act quickly in order to protect the human family and ensure their safety. He began to work on a plan to move them to a secure location, where they could continue to be studied in peace. But even as he worked, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. He had a sense that the growing tensions in the alien society were about to boil over, and that the human family was in danger. As he looked out the window of the research station, watching the crowds of aliens gathering outside, Dr. Zorax knew that he had to act fast. He had to find a way to keep the human family safe, while also finding a way to bridge the gap between the alien society and the incredible discovery he had made. It was a daunting task, but Dr. Zorax was determined to see it through. He knew that the fate of the human family, and possibly the fate of the entire galaxy, rested on his shoulders. With a deep breath, he turned back to his work, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He knew that the journey was far from over, but he was ready to take on whatever the universe had in store. The Great Escape. As tensions continued to rise in the alien society, Dr. Zorax knew that he had to act fast to protect the human couple and their baby. He had a feeling that it was only a matter of time before the protests outside the research station turned violent, and he couldn't risk the safety of his subjects. Late one night, Dr. Zorax snuck into the living quarters where Jack, Lisa, and their baby were being held. He woke them up and explained the situation, telling them that they needed to leave immediately. At first, the couple was hesitant. They had grown accustomed to life on the alien planet and had even begun to form a bond with some of the researchers. But when Dr. Zorax showed them footage of the angry crowds outside, they knew that they had no choice. Together, Dr. Zorax and the human family snuck out of the research station under the cover of darkness. They made their way to a waiting spacecraft, which had been prepared for their escape. As they flew through the alien city, they could see the chaos erupting below them. Protesters had taken to the streets, setting fires and clashing with law enforcement. It was clear that the situation had escalated beyond anyone's control. Dr. Zorax piloted the spacecraft out of the city and into the wilderness beyond. He knew that they needed to find a safe place to hide until the situation calmed down. As they flew, Jack and Lisa peppered Dr. Zorax with questions about the alien society and the reasons behind the protests. Dr. Zorax did his best to explain, telling them about the fears and concerns that had arisen in the wake of their incredible discovery. He also told them about the factions that had formed within the alien society, those who wanted to study and learn from the humans, and those who saw them as a threat to be contained or eliminated. As they listened to Dr. Zorax's explanations, Jack and Lisa couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. They had always known that they were part of something bigger than themselves, but they had never imagined that their mere existence could cause such upheaval. Finally, after hours of flying, Dr. Zorax brought the spacecraft down in a remote area far from the city. He had chosen the location carefully, knowing that it was far enough away to avoid detection, but close enough to still be within range of the research station's communication systems. As they set up camp and tried to get some rest, Dr. Zorax couldn't help but feel a sense of responsibility for the human family. He had brought them to this planet, and now he needed to find a way to keep them safe. Over the next few days, Dr. Zorax worked tirelessly to gather information about the situation in the city. He used his contacts within the research community to stay up to date on the latest developments and to try to find a way to resolve the conflict. Meanwhile, Jack and Lisa did their best to keep themselves and their baby safe and healthy. They foraged for food and water in the surrounding wilderness, and they took turns keeping watch over their makeshift camp. As the days turned into weeks, the human family and Dr. Zorax began to form a close bond. They shared stories and experiences, and they worked together to survive in the harsh alien landscape. But even as they grew closer, they knew that they couldn't stay hidden forever. They needed to find a way to return to Earth, to their own kind, and to the safety of their home planet. Dr. Zorax knew that it wouldn't be easy. He would need to find a way to negotiate with the alien government and to convince them to allow the humans to leave in peace. But he was determined to see it through. He had started this journey with the human family, and he was going to finish it, no matter what challenges lay ahead. The government steps in. As Dr. Zorax and the human family remained in hiding, the situation in the alien city continued to deteriorate. The protests had turned into full-scale riots, with angry mobs roaming the streets and clashing with law enforcement. The alien government, which had initially been reluctant to get involved, finally decided to step in. They sent a team of heavily armed soldiers to the research station, with orders to find and detain the human family and the scientists who had been studying them. When they arrived at the station, the soldiers found it abandoned. The scientists had fled, taking all of their research and equipment with them. The government was furious. They saw the escape of the humans as a threat to their authority and a challenge to their control over the alien society. They began a massive manhunt, sending out search parties and drones to scour the wilderness for any sign of the humans or the scientists who had helped them escape. Back at the makeshift camp, Dr. Zorax and the human family huddled together, listening to the sounds of the search parties in the distance. They knew that it was only a matter of time before they were found. Dr. Zorax tried to keep everyone calm, but he could see the fear in Jack and Lisa's eyes. They had come so far, and now it seemed like everything was falling apart. As the search parties drew closer, Dr. Zorax made a decision. He knew that he couldn't let the human family be captured and taken back to the city. He had to find a way to get them to safety, even if it meant sacrificing himself. In the dead of night, Dr. Zorax snuck out of the camp and made his way back to the research station. He hoped to find some way to contact the other scientists and arrange for a rescue mission. But when he arrived at the station, he found it swarming with government soldiers. They had already discovered the scientists' hiding place and had taken them into custody. Dr. Zorax watched from a distance as the scientists were led away in handcuffs. He knew that they would be interrogated and possibly even tortured for information about the humans' whereabouts. He also knew that he was now the only one who could help the human family escape. He had to find a way to get them off the planet and back to Earth before the government found them. With a heavy heart, Dr. Zorax made his way back to the camp. He knew that he had to act fast before the search parties closed in. When he arrived back at the camp, he found Jack and Lisa packing up their belongings. They had heard the sounds of the search parties and knew that they had to move on. Dr. Zorax told them about what had happened at the research station and about the capture of the other scientists. He also told them about his plan to get them off the planet and back to Earth. Jack and Lisa were hesitant at first. They didn't want to leave Dr. Zorax behind, after all he had done for them. But they also knew that they had to think about their baby and their own safety. In the end, they agreed to Dr. Zorax's plan. They would make their way to a nearby spaceport, where they would steal a ship and fly back to Earth. Dr. Zorax would stay behind and try to buy them some time by leading the search parties away from their true destination. It was a risky plan, but it was the only one they had. With heavy hearts, Jack and Lisa said their goodbyes to Dr. Zorax and set off into the night, their babies strapped to their backs. As he watched them go, Dr. Zorax felt a sense of pride and sadness. He had grown to care for the human family deeply, and he knew that he would miss them terribly. But he also knew that he had done the right thing. He had helped them to escape and to find their way back home, even if it meant sacrificing his own freedom and possibly even his life. With a final look back at the camp, Dr. Zorax turned and made his way into the wilderness, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Humans learned the truth. Jack, Lisa, and their baby managed to make their way to the spaceport undetected. With the help of some stolen equipment and Lisa's hacking skills, they were able to break into one of the smaller spacecraft and take off into the night sky. As they flew through the stars, Jack and Lisa couldn't help but feel a sense of relief and excitement. They were finally on their way back home, back to Earth and the life they had left behind. But they also couldn't shake the feeling of unease and uncertainty. They had been through so much in the past few months, and they knew that their journey was far from over. As they approached Earth's orbit, they were suddenly hailed by a group of human spacecraft. The ships surrounded them and ordered them to land at a nearby military base. Jack and Lisa were hesitant at first, but they knew that they had no choice. They landed the spacecraft and were immediately taken into custody by a group of armed soldiers. For the next few days, Jack and Lisa were subjected to endless questioning and medical examinations. The military wanted to know everything about their time on the alien planet and the creatures who had taken them. At first, Jack and Lisa were reluctant to share too much information. They were worried about what might happen to Dr. Zorax and the other alien scientists who had helped them. But as the questioning continued, they began to realize that the military already knew more than they were letting on. They had intercepted communications from the alien planet and had been monitoring the situation for months. Eventually, Jack and Lisa decided to tell their story in full. They spoke about their capture by the alien scientists, their time on the research station, and their eventual escape with the help of Dr. Zorax. The military was fascinated by their story and the implications it had for the future of human-alien relations. They realized that they needed to take action to prevent any further incidents and to protect the human race from potential threats. Over the next few weeks, the military began to mobilize. They sent a team of diplomats and scientists to the alien planet, hoping to establish contact with the government and to negotiate a peaceful resolution to the crisis. At the same time, they began to study the technology and biology of the alien race, hoping to learn more about their capabilities and potential weaknesses. As for Jack and Lisa, they were eventually released from military custody and allowed to return to their normal lives. But they knew that their experience had changed them forever. They had seen firsthand the wonders and dangers of the universe, and they knew that they could never go back to the way things were before. As they settled back into their old routines, Jack and Lisa couldn't help but think about Dr. Zorax and the other alien scientists who had helped them. They wondered what had happened to them and whether they were still alive. They also thought about the implications of their discovery and what it meant for the future of humanity. They knew that the revelation of the human fertility rate would have far-reaching consequences, both for their own species and for the alien races they had encountered. As they looked up at the stars each night, Jack and Lisa knew that their journey was far from over. They had started something that would change the course of history, and they knew that they had a responsibility to see it through. With a sense of determination and purpose, Jack and Lisa began to plan for the future. They knew that they had a role to play in the coming years, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they held their baby close and looked out at the vast expanse of the universe, Jack and Lisa knew that they were part of something much bigger than themselves. They had started a new chapter in the story of humanity, and they knew that the journey ahead would be filled with both wonder and danger. But they were ready for whatever lay ahead. They had each other, and they had the knowledge and experience they had gained on their incredible journey. And with that, Jack and Lisa stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face the future and all the possibilities it held. A new beginning. Dr. Zorax sat in his lab, staring at the screen in front of him. It had been months since he had helped Jack, Lisa, and their baby escape from the alien planet, and he hadn't heard from them since. He had managed to evade capture by the government soldiers, But he knew that he was living on borrowed time. He had been forced to go into hiding, moving from one safe house to another, and always looking over his shoulder. But despite the danger, Dr. Zorax couldn't stop thinking about the human family and the incredible discovery he had made. He knew that he had to continue his research, no matter the cost. He had managed to salvage some of his equipment from the research station before he fled, and he had been using it to study the human DNA samples he had collected during his time with Jack and Lisa. As he pored over the data, Dr. Zorax couldn't help but be amazed by what he was seeing. The human genome was unlike anything he had ever encountered before, with a complexity and diversity that was unmatched in the known universe. He knew that he had to share his findings with the rest of the alien scientific community, but he also knew that he had to be careful. The government was still searching for him, and he couldn't risk being caught. As he worked, Dr. Zorax couldn't help but think about Jack and Lisa and wonder what had become of them. He hoped that they had made it back to Earth safely, and that they were living the life they had always dreamed of. Little did he know that Jack and Lisa were thinking of him too. They had never forgotten the alien scientist who had risked everything to help them, and they knew that they owed him a debt of gratitude. They had been working with the human military and scientific community to establish contact with the alien race, hoping to find a way to bring Dr. Zorax and the other scientists to safety. And finally, after months of negotiations and diplomacy, they had succeeded. The alien government had agreed to allow a delegation of human scientists and diplomats to visit their planet, with the goal of establishing peaceful relations and sharing knowledge and resources. When Dr. Zorax heard the news, he couldn't believe it. He had never imagined that he would see Jack and Lisa again, let alone be able to continue his research without fear of persecution. As he stepped off the spacecraft and onto the alien planet once more, Dr. Zorax was filled with a sense of hope and excitement. He knew that he had a second chance to make a difference, to continue his work, and to help build a bridge between two species that had once been so far apart. As he embraced Jack and Lisa and held their baby in his arms, Dr. Zorax knew that he had found his true calling. He had always been a scientist, driven by a thirst for knowledge and discovery, but now he knew that he was part of something much bigger. He had helped to forge a new bond between humans and aliens, and he knew that the future held endless possibilities. With the help of his new friends and colleagues, he would continue to study the human genome and unlock its secrets, with the goal of helping both species to thrive and prosper. As he looked out at the stars above and felt the warmth of the alien sun on his face, Dr. Zorax knew that he had finally found his place in the universe. He had started a new chapter in his life, and he knew that the journey ahead would be filled with both challenges and rewards. But he was ready for whatever lay ahead. He had the support of his friends and the knowledge that he was making a difference, and that was all he needed to keep going. And so, with a sense of purpose and determination, Dr. Zorax stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face the future and all the possibilities it held. He knew that he had a role to play in the great cosmic dance of life, and he was ready to embrace it with open arms.